Hello and welcome to the Varietal Show. My name is Rory and you are watching Varietal Literature's YouTube channel, a group of writers from Vancouver who just enjoy having fun with narrative. And what we do here on the Thursday night at 6:30 my time, whatever time it is for you right now, is we write stuff live together. And what we're doing tonight specifically is we're going to use writing prompts from a book which we used a couple of weeks ago, which has the random number 642 stories to write, and it includes several prompts on pages. And on those prompts, we will build a story. And the first prompt's already chosen, but after that, it'll be sort of up to the chat. We usually wind up writing one or two stories. And yeah, that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to write live together. If you want to hang out with us and listen to people talk, because people in the chat sometimes write their own stuff and post it and I'll read it, you know, as long as it's not like shocking content. Or you can help along with whatever I'm writing here, whatever you choose to. The point is to come together, write together. Writing isn't as solitary as you always might think it is. I see chat's already talking. So they're talking about some stuff that's happened before. I will come to you in a minute, chat. The first thing we have to do, of course, is if you haven't been keeping up with the channel, well, you know, I'm here to help. Of course. No ulterior motive. I just want to remind you guys, Left Unread is our section where I recommend things that I have read or am reading that I think you might enjoy, or games or movies or whatever, or TV shows that I think are very narrative focused that are interesting. In this case, I'm going to recommend the book that my Big Van Book Club on Wednesday is discussing, which is Francis Peck's The Broken Places. Now, there's two reasons to read it. Of course, it's a good book about an earthquake, and it's set in Vancouver. But the second reason to read it is because it is the first book that a Big Van Book Club is reading, which is a book club for Vancouver-based books, or not based books, Vancouver writers' books. This one happens to also be both. And the sorry, I kind of got distracted by the song. Anyways, the point is that if you read along with it, we're going into the third part now. There's 5 total parts in the book. If you read up to the third part, the end of the third part, you can join us next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday. And that's usually when Wednesday occurs. And join in the discussion and live chat like you do here. It's proven really popular. Like, people have joined it that I didn't expect to join it, number one. And number two, it's doing better numbers than a lot of things that I've done. So don't miss out, because we're going to read cool books. And it's fun to sort of talk about what we see and hear. And that's my Left Unread. Which means I need to introduce you to tonight's lit game. So, lit games is, of course, literature games, if you haven't been here before. And by the way, if you haven't been here before, check the description, because there will be timestamps, and you can jump ahead to whatever part it is that most interests you, including the results of what we come up with. Or you can just hang out with us the whole time. I think that's the coolest way to do it, but I want you to get what you want to get out of this. Anyways, I'm very distractible. Lit game stands for literature games, and what it is it's basically, sometimes it's a little more like competitive and intense, but sometimes it's just sort of group writing, or sometimes it's pretty chill, like we do the Bob Ross thing, which is basically picking some stock photos and hanging out with those stock photos. I guess these would be it this way. But what we're doing tonight is we're going to read some writing prompts, and then we're going to try and write little postcard stories about those writing prompts, and then we're going to move on to another one. And our first writing prompt tonight is, of course, I'm going to read it as it's written in the book, because I wrote it a little bit differently in the icon. It says, the person sitting next to you in the waiting room hasn't blinked in 20 minutes. And there's something really delightful about that, because there's so many different ways to go with it. So, with all of that said, with the introduction in it, they're making fun of me for being distractible. I am distractible today. We'll see how that plays out in the long run. I also realized that I have to fix the light above me. But chat, give me your best reasons why someone... I mean, the obvious one is they're dead. But, you know, that's kind of boring. We might go that direction if we need to. But besides being dead, what's a reason why somebody might not have been blinking for 20 minutes? And then we'll try to sort of build a story out of it. See if that fixes it. There we go. That's one thing fixed. Okay. So chat, Jenna, GS, and Big Drew all say hi. Oh, and Rachel's here as well, says hi. Jenna remembers, yes, the Granddaughter Meth Lab prompt book. Yeah, but we turned it into kittens. We do change the prompts if we have to. Yeah, Big Drew is giving me a hard time for being distractible. Good man. Jenna says, I'm just saying if they haven't blinked in that long. GS is catatonic. A lot of grim answers here. I didn't expect this. I thought someone would say a robot or something. Jenna says they're wearing human as a skin and they're not actual human. Cryptids, I tell you. Yeah, I see, like that. Makes more sense. It's a little grim. I don't think it's too grim for what we do here. I'm just surprised, because usually I'm the one who goes grim. And then chat's like, whoa, come on. Let's not be dark now. Rachel Skinner says, no breath with a question mark. I don't know if we've decided. GS also recommended catatonic. So let me get the prompt down. If I was a prepared and organized man, it would already be there. But anybody who's been here before knows that's not the case. Okay. Oh, I gotta show you this. Suppose you guys want to see what I'm doing. There we go. Everyone says no, not grim for me. Okay, well then I guess we're going with human skin. The person sitting next to me in the waiting room hasn't blinked in 20 minutes. At first, I think I just thought they were old. Maybe a fan of sunbathing. Or someone who lost a lot of weight quickly. But sitting here now, pondering the reality of their visibly dry and bloodshot eyes, I actually think they just don't fit their own skin. It's like a child And their father's sweater. Oh man. Okay, so GS says dimensional travel is a ball except when it happens when you're sitting in a public place. Oh, like people, like their mind has been transported. Oh, I see. GS did say this earlier. GS is transported to another dimension. Bodies just parked there. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that, GS. I guess I've committed to the cryptid now. I do like that concept, though, because we can all relate to simply leaving our own bodies. I don't really know how else to describe it. I guess horrifying is correct. Not necessarily, but a little anemic in the details. Where do we go from here? Is it a violent cryptid, or is it a cryptid that wants to move into us? Is it... What? Okay, here's another question for you that I haven't really made a decision on. What do you think... What is this person in this lobby for? It's a lobby, right? Waiting room? Yeah. Where is this waiting room? What are they in a waiting room for? That's something we should probably resolve. I'm gonna have a drink of water. See, Big Drew is writing big things. Says, last thing I remember was double-crossing a voodoo medicine woman in a hollowed-out tree trunk somewhere outside of Baton Rouge. She plucked a gray hair from her scalp and twisted it in her fingers. Grade 1 teacher notes on report card. GS seems to spend a lot of time daydreaming. I'm assuming these are reports of the past. Yeah, I am a bit of a daydreamer as well. It's also known as just being a writer. Professional daydreamer. Rachel says heavenly waiting room. Holly says dermatologist waiting room. I mean, we got a real... I'm gonna just gonna flip a coin here. Do I have anything that works as a coin? Okay, I'm gonna flip my ebook. This side, I'll go with dermatologist. This side, I'll go with the heavenly waiting room. It is dermatologist. Sorry. I should always have a coin or like a dice here. I guess I don't want to judge, because we are all here for some skin issue. I see some votes for it being both. So I kind of, if we're going to go that direction, then I feel like it should be like a multi-purpose room. Like it's on heaven and most people are there for dermatology, but they always have to clarify, are you here to take passage to the final judgment? I guess I don't want to judge, as we are all here for some skin issue. But I don't really know how to work a cryptid into that reality. But the loose-skinned person before me looked like a bag of raccoons when it moved. And again, glare was still and unbroken by a blink. People like that. You know what? I might have a way to make it work. Now that I've thought about it, what am I if not an opportunist? What am I not? What am I here for if not connecting together chat's nonsense into something like a story? Okay. Its glare was still and unbroken by a blink. I remembered what my mother always said. Don't judge a book by its cover. So, I decided to ask. I notice you haven't blinked in about a half hour. That's a neat trick. How do you do that? Rachel says, my husband has had sad skin issues. Who could die from them? Segue. Like in real life? That's so, terrible. I hope things are better. If not in real life, then I guess I got nothing else. That's a neat trick. How do you do that? The creature opened its mouth and jawed while moaning rhythmically. While moaning rhythmically. Like a badly puppeted... Like a bad puppet show, let's say. I heard its neck crunch as it turned towards me. Twisting rolls into its ample flesh. Okay, I said. I'm not familiar with that language. Is it German? A sharp... Why does it keep changing the text on me? There we go. Come on, that's gotta fix it. A sharp voice interrupted from behind and said, Nah, don't bother. It's a misprint. Who are you here for? Final judgment. Wait. Dr. Scott's dermatological assessments, or the final judgment before the almighty and inconceivable God. It was a bored-looking nurse, no older than 17, chewing some gum and holding a clipboard. What? Wait, what do you mean a misprint? I asked about the roiling ball of moaning flesh. How is the nurse 17? She's just a receptionist. I see Drew's got his own story going. I'm looking forward to reading it. You know, one of God's mistakes. A misprinted angel. Yada, yada, yada. Anyways, I guess that means you're here for a dermatological assessment? Rachel says, I am German. I don't speak German. I wish I did. I wish I spoke German too. I am not German, but I have a philosophy degree. I have a double major, philosophy and psychology. And my philosophy degree, in particular, I took interest in a bunch of German philosophers by my fourth year. And it would have been really cool to read it in its original... Well, I mean, it wasn't German really at that point. They would have called themselves Prussian and so on, but one of the provinces. But anyways, basically German. People are really liking the idea of a misprinted angel. She says, with a lilt like it's a question, but gestures me up and doesn't wait for a response. Yeah, my skin's kinda dry. Are you saying that's an angel? Can I meet God here? I asked in amazement. Of course, but by appointment only. Anyways, God is... Anyways. Turn left at the end of the hall right will take you to the eternal staircase. To the hereafter, upon which she pauses to sigh as she clearly has repeated this speech several times. There is no return for mortal souls. But left, you'll see 3 doors. First door is the bathroom, if you need it. Your room is at the end. Thank you. She walks away. I consider for a moment taking the eternal stairs. But I really had some seriously weird skin issues. So I went to my waiting room. And all I could think to say after that is, I can see why they said, do not be afraid. There we go. Okay. I'm sorry, I had a concept there that was too tenuous to involve too many people in anymore. The multi-purpose waiting room concept absolutely cracks me up. I mentioned that Holly's house likes the idea of them 3D printing. GS says reminiscent of Monty Python's I Want to Complain skit where he goes to the wrong door. Oh, I love it. Holly's house says this needs to be a graphic novel. In a kind of spiritual way, I would argue that, like, this is on the level of what Sandman does, but with less of a sense of humor. I haven't watched the show yet, but I've been reading through some of the graphic novels for a while. Rachel says, now I want to go to any quote from Monty Python's Holy Grail. What a great show. Your writing is making me grin ear to ear. I'm glad. Holly's house says litgames is the hidden treasure of the internet. I mean, not all of them are great. I mean, I wouldn't say that I've earned every view I've gotten. Some just don't work. And then we're all stuck here for 40 minutes watching me and know that it's not working. But I do like these prompts. That's why I'm kind of doing a little test on a cycle of things. But I want to read Big Drew's story. Let's see how that came out. So let me see if I can find the beginning of that. I mean, we read this part, but I'll read it again. Last thing I remember was double-crossing a voodoo medicine woman in a hollowed-out tree trunk somewhere outside of Baton Rouge. She plucked a gray hair from her scalp and twisted it in her fingers. As she twisted it, a powder appeared in her palm, and she sprinkled it over my head. Within a few seconds, my skin turned green and my head shrunk. Then I woke up here holding a handbook for the recently deceased, seated betwixt a lovely pair of blue Guignol legs and their detached torso. Oh, you're writing fan fiction. I noticed the unblinking man across from me. Suddenly a commotion as a young couple entered the waiting room. They looked confused and took a number. As they sat across from me, I heard the man utter, only 4,200,546,771 people to go. The unblinking man was startled awake by a man with pale skin, green wormy hair, and black and white pinstripe suit. There he is. As he stole the unblinking man's number, I sprinkled shrinking dust on his head. If you don't know, that's a different take on a scene from Beetlejuice, which is great. I love Beetlejuice. Okay. Let's look for another prompt. For a minute, I forgot what I was doing. I was like, oh, how am I going to come up with another idea? I don't. Writing prompt number 2. I could not have written that story without you guys' contributions. That is not the direction I saw that going. Okay, we're going to the big fat book of writing prompts. So many of these are like deeply menacing and concerning. Like this one, which I'm not gonna do, is a pizza delivery man takes an order to the town's legendary recluse. He decides to bring along something extra. Now you could take that in a nice way, but that's not exactly what I was thinking. Rachel says, after last week's potato topic and how much fun it was fun. Could coffee be another topic? Absolutely. Sold. We'll do it. I gotta check my cycle because right now I have a cycle of 3 weeks. I want to do a 4-week cycle, but I gotta come up with something to do on the 4th week. But it's gonna be next week. I think what I'll do is I'll do the Bob Ross thing. And then after that, we'll do coffee. Big Drew says, nailed it, thank you. Shrunken Head Man Beetlejuice fanfiction is about as obscure as they can get. Oh, I don't know. There's so much anime and so much anime fanfiction, like, trying to keep up with that is a full-time job. I don't know what to make of this, but it would keep with a religious theme. Jesus Christ returns as promised, but not to end the world. I kind of like the idea of like a metal version of him ending the world, though. I feel like I might step on some people's toes with that, but like if he comes riding in on the back of a, I don't know, a drag car and just starts tearing things down. There are good ones here. I'm trying to find things that aren't too grim. I mean, that's a good one. Nobody thought he would show up at the party. You're kayaking in the bay with your mother when a wave hits, dumping you both into the water. I'm reading a book that basically does that. Holly's House says, I've never seen Beetlejuice. Now, without pulling back the curtain, that is a lie. I mean, this is clever. I don't know exactly what I would do with this, but the computers of a call center are possessed by the souls of disgruntled middle managers. Let's see what people are saying. GS says, Torrid email today promoted their Beetlejuice collection, a bra, underpants, and sleep shirt. They call that a collection. That doesn't sound like much of a collection to me. Holly's House says, Jesus returns to end the world, but decides to stay and live as a human after he sees 1999 as the Matrix and realizes we've reached a new advanced form of human life. Wait, GS just keeps saying party. Are you saying that Jesus returned to party? I think I've missed a thread here. What are we saying, guys? That is pretty good. Maybe it's just a guy who's having a hardest time getting to said party. Now I feel like I've said something that I've forgotten. Okay, guys, remind me. What are you talking about? I'll do it, but I flip past the page now. No, the uninvited. Oh, the guy wasn't invited to the party. Okay. I'm never gonna find the prompt again, so exactly as it was worded, so I'm just gonna have to do my best version of it. But let's see what people say. It was pretty good. Maybe it's just a guy who's having the hardest time getting to said party. The nightmare for Christians. I don't know, maybe there's a typhoon, a hurricane. An accident as this guy tries to get the party. The trials get more intense as he goes, starts to build. Okay. All I wanted to do was get to the damn party. It's simple enough. I've been to parties before. You pick clothes. Shower up. Post a selfie. And catch an Uber. Why an Uber? You might ask. I got you there, Rachel. Well, I'd like to say it's because I am a responsible person who understands a party may include intoxicants. But really, I just didn't take seriously the service light. And my car is smoking. Oh, Holly's House said the prompt was no one expected him at the party. Okay, thank you. Well, we're doing this first person, so let's just write that prompt up for the hell of it. So an Uber it is. Now, the good thing about Uber... Guys, start thinking of Uber problems here. The good thing about Uber is that it definitely is cheaper and more responsive than a cab. The bad thing about Uber is they didn't exactly screen their drivers very clearly. very thoroughly. Let's just say thoroughly. But I don't need a very in there. Jenna says, my friends who went to Florida once had an Uber driver that started showing them pictures of their kid while driving, and they were like, "Ayah!" That's terrifying. They didn't exactly screen their drivers thoroughly. For example, I once had a driver who admitted their license had expired a month prior. Another was pulled over and arrested for something. I never did find out what. But that day, my Uber driver had no such problems. Holly's house says something. No, in fact, I didn't even have Uber problems because apparently I accidentally ordered a boober. A topless party bus that doesn't take you where you need to go. Now, this sounds fun, but I had a party to get to. And when I got on, I thought it would still take me there. I was the perfect gentleman. I complimented what I saw, but also respectfully declined the opportunity for something called motor boating. I was a fan of the feminine. Perhaps the more subtle angles, like wrists or necks. After some time on the boober and several increasingly loud shouts, I finally was let off. This meant I had to walk, and it was a hungry uphill walk in the dark. I did stop for a snack from some back alley shop, but I didn't want to fill up before the party. Holly's house says you have to pay for Boober by going topless yourself for 3 blocks. This doesn't seem like an effective business strategy, if I'm being honest. Then I crossed the street towards the gates of the bumping party up on the hills, and I was struck by a speeding car. I spun off down into a ravine, moaning with my every impact. Now, this might have stopped the night for most folks. But you must understand, I had an appointment to keep. So I staggered to my feet and scrambled back up the rocks. As soon as the driver saw I was moving, they jumped in the car and drove down the winding roads away. I see Big Drew's writing another story there. Finally, after all that strife, I reached the gate and buzzed. However, no one responded. The truth was, the invitation was as much my own will, or even more, than the person I was visiting. So, not one to be dissuaded, I scrambled over the fence and made as smoke in the shadows before pouring myself through an ajar window. As it happened, I came, rather embarrassingly, into the bathroom behind the very host of the party. He was cleaning his teeth in the mirror and didn't see me at all. So as not to startle him, I said, second, I gotta remind myself of something here. Hello. My invitation must have gotten lost. Van Helsing. Then we had a feast, and I was glad I didn't fill up in the alleys. There you go, there's my twist. I'm just watching if it's coming through yet. I see there's the first OMG. That looks like allies. How do you write alleys? It's like alleyways? Let's do that way. Maybe alleys? Does that work? Is that allowed? Jenna says that's a good twist. Right in time. We wrote 2 longer stories tonight, which I'm fine with. All right. Which means it's time for us to circle back and read what we got. So if you're jumping ahead in the later video just to see the results, although I will say Big Drew has been writing stories in the chat, so you should stick around and hear some of them because I'm going to read the last one after. But we as a chat came up with 2 stories off 2 different prompts, and the first prompt was the one that's in the icon of this video. The person sitting next to me in the waiting room hasn't blinked in 20 minutes, and this one definitely, a lot of credit to the chat here, pushed me in a direction I would have never gone. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The person sitting next to me in the waiting room hasn't blinked in 20 minutes? At first, I think I just thought they were old. Maybe a fan of sunbathing, or maybe someone who lost a lot of weight quickly. But sitting here now, pondering the reality of their visibly dry and bloodshot eyes, I actually think they just don't fit their own skin. It's like a child in their father's sweater. I don't really know how else to describe it. I guess horrifying is correct, but a little anemic in the details. I guess I don't want to judge, as we are all here for some skin issues. It is a dermatologist office. Let's add that in. Dermatologist office, after all. But the loose-skinned person before me looked like a bag of raccoons when it moved, and again, its glare was still and unbroken by a blink. I remembered what my mother always said, don't judge a book by its covers, so I decided to ask, I notice you haven't blinked in about a half hour. That's a neat trick. How do you do that? The creature opened its mouth and jawed while moaning rhythmically like a bad puppet show. I heard its neck crunch as it turned towards me, twisting rolls into its ample flesh. Okay, I said. I'm not familiar with that language. Is it German? A sharp voice interrupted from behind and said, Nah, don't bother. It's a misprint. Who are you here for? Dr. Scott's dermatological assessment or the final judgment before the almighty and inconceivable God? It was a bored-looking nurse, no older than 17, chewing some gum and holding a clipboard. What? Wait, what do you mean, a misprint? I asked about the roiling ball of moaning flesh. You know, one of God's mistakes, a misprinted angel, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, I guess you're here for a dermatological assessment, she says with a lilt like it's a question, but gestures me up and doesn't wait for a response. Yeah, my skin's kind of dry. Are you saying that's an angel? Can I meet God here? I asked in amazement. Of course, but by appointment only, of course. Anyways, turn left at the end of the hall. Right will take you to the eternal staircase to the hereafter, upon which, as she pauses to sigh, as she clearly has repeated this speech several times, there is no return for mortal souls. But left, you'll find 3 doors. First door is the bathroom if you need it. Your room is at the end. Thank you. She walks away. I consider for a moment taking the eternal stairs, but I really had some seriously weird skin issues, so I went to my waiting room, and all I could think to say after that is, I can see why they said, do not be afraid. So, writing prompt 2. No one expected them at the party. We didn't use that specific sentence, but we used that idea in the story, and there's a twist at the end. All I wanted to do was get to the damn party. It was simple enough. I've been to parties before. You pick clothes, shower up, post a selfie, catch an Uber. Why an Uber, you might ask? Well, I'd like to say it's because I am a responsible person who understands a party may include intoxicants, but really I just didn't take seriously the service light in my car is smoking. So an Uber it is. Now the good thing about Uber is that it definitely is cheaper and more responsive than a cab. The bad thing about Uber was they didn't exactly screen their drivers thoroughly. For example, I once had a driver who admitted their license was expired a month prior. Another was pulled over and arrested for something I never did find out what. But that day, my Uber driver had no such problems. No, in fact, I didn't even have Uber problems, because apparently I accidentally ordered a boober, a topless party bus that doesn't take you where you need to go. Now this sounds fun, but I had a party to get to, and when I got on, I thought it would still take me there. I was the perfect gentleman. I complimented what I saw, but also respectfully declined the opportunity for something called motorboating. I was a fan of the feminine, but perhaps the more subtle angles like the wrists or the neck. After some time on the boober and several increasingly loud shouts, I was finally let off. This meant I had to walk, and it was a hungry, uphill walk in the dark. I did stop for a snack from some back alley shop, but I didn't want to fill up before the party. Then I crossed the street towards the gates of the bumping party up on the hills, and I was struck by a speeding car. I spun off down into a ravine, moaning with every impact. Now this might have stopped the night for most folks, but you must understand, I had an appointment to keep. So I staggered to my feet and scrambled back up the rocks. As soon as the driver saw I was moving, they jumped in the car and drove down the winding roads and off away. Finally, after all that strife, I reached the gate and buzzed. However, no one responded. The truth was the invitation was as much my own will, or even more than the person I was visiting. So not one to be dissuaded, I scrambled over the fence and made a smoke in the shadows before pouring myself through an ajar window. As it happened, I came, rather embarrassingly, into the bathroom behind the very host of the party. He was cleaning his teeth in the mirror and didn't see me at all, so as not to startle him, I said, "Hello, my invitation must have gotten lost, Van Helsing." Then we had a feast, and I was glad I didn't fill up in the alleys. It's Dracula, if anybody hasn't picked up on this at this point. Okay, let's see what Big Drew wrote for his second one. Let's see if I can find the beginning. I'd always wanted to attend a party. Invitations were hard to come by for me, though. I'd been blessed with delightfully awkward social graces, a robust statue, and the voice of a veteran smoker. And all of this at the age of 13. By the time I was 16, I'd sprung to 6'8" in height and was seen as mildly terrifying by my peers. This is a story about me, Big Drew. For those who don't know, I am 6'5". On this night, celebrating my afterlife, I decided to go out on the town. I donned my finest brown suit, fashioned a bolo tie out of black twine. Man, I haven't heard the words bolo tie in so long. And slicked back the remaining hair on my tiny head. Oh, we're still with the tiny head guy. I love it. I happened upon a bus that wore a placard of boober. I boarded and, misunderstanding what I bore witness to, began to disrobe. The driver was aghast at my behavior and decided to remove me with some force. hurling me through the windshield as the bus came to a halt. To my surprise, the open manhole I plummeted through led me to my first party. It took all my life and afterlife to get there, but I became the talk of the town, the dark mass of oaf that plummeted into the ball. I was awarded the finest ghoul in town, and we lived morbidly ever after. And then Big Drew added, incidentally, I used to drive Uber. The vetting process is quite thorough, but things you hear... I had a passenger once tell me he'd killed someone in the intersection we were driving through. Oh, God. Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty thorough. It's just lying to make a story work. The grand tradition of lying to make stories work. All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for hanging out with me and helping me write 2 very silly stories. We'll probably do the Bob Ross thing, which is sort of a chill, descriptive, focused prose thing next week. Sort of take stock photos. I don't know if we'll do characters or backgrounds or whatever else. Maybe we'll do objects. I don't know. But it's sort of a study in prose. And it's everybody participates. We all share our stuff together. It's very non-judgmental. It's very cool and chill. Very calm. GS says, yes, how were you able to foreshadow with all of us pelting you with suggestions? I had the idea in the second paragraph. So then it just becomes a matter of, like, not leaving implied. Like, so, for example, on the Boober... Yeah, there's the reference to the necks, but then there's also the reference to after some time on the Boober and several increasingly loud shouts, I was finally let off. But I don't say who's shouting or why. Big Drew says, good times as always, you're wonderful, and I send a lovey. Happy September to you all. Be beautiful to each other. You guys are all wonderful. It's really cool to have people come and join in the chat. And if you don't join in the chat, but you do join in the reading, I just want you to say that you're still doing exactly what I kind of hoped people would do. I like writing. I think it's a joyous activity. I don't think you need to be an author to have the right to create stories and have fun with writing. It's just an activity. I look forward to seeing at least some of you back next week, if not all of you. Please remember to like, and if you haven't already, it's always very helpful to subscribe. But you do as you feel fit to do. Thank you so much, Jenna, GS, Big Drew, Rachel, and Holly, I think was in here. Yeah, Holly's house. And I hope I didn't forget anybody else. I gotta go cash out. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Get out of my shop.